Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the top 10 traits in Gems of War. These top 10 traits are going to be excluding all legendary, mythic, and hero class unique traits. These are only going to be traits that can be obtained on any troop. This list is essentially just to give you an idea of what traits to look out for when starting to trait all of your troops, so you know which ones will give you the best value. And these are my personal 10 favorite best traits within the game, excluding unique ones that some troops have. If you want to see a list of the top 10 traded troops overall, I did a video for that. I'll probably post a link in the description, as well as a little thing you can click right now if you wish. First off, let's just get right into it then. Right with Leader. Leader is actually a really good trait. Some people may put it a little bit higher. What it does is give 3 to all skills when the troop is placed in the first position. 3 to all skills, of course, it's going to be a 12 total, because 3 to attack, 3 to HP, 3 to armor, and 3 to magic as well. The main thing that most people get it for, of course, is that magic, and like with things like Knight Coronet, it synergizes really well with the fact that he also gets additional magic, and with his ability hitting 2 enemies, the first and the last. One of the reasons the leadership is a little bit lower on my list, all the way at 10, is because it only works whenever the troop is in the first slot. So one, you have to put the troop in the first slot if you want to utilize it, or you get absolutely nothing out of this trait. The other negative side to it is if you want to use something like 2 Knight Coronets, well, your second Knight Coronet isn't going to get any leadership bonus because it's not in the first position. So it essentially makes a troop that only has 2 traits instead of 3. So you'll only ever be able to use 1 leadership on an entire team. So it's good to have on a team, but of course you can only ever use 1. Next up is the... Oops, that is not how I meant to do that. Next up is the Necromancy. Necro. This is mostly used with something like a Valkyrie who creates a bunch of souls, plus she even has this. One thing to note about the Necromancy trait is that it just increases your base amount of souls. There is a 40 cap per souls per match, and this it makes it quicker to get there. It doesn't actually increase that cap of 40 by 50%. It locks it still at 40. It just makes it slightly quicker to get there. So mostly you would just use it with Valkyrie, or with maybe something else that happens to get a few souls here and there, just to be able to boost it up quicker. For the most part, these are, like I said, only ever going to be used with Valkyrie, which is why you won't really need too many of these. But what you can do is, if you want to use multiples of one, such as double Valkyrie, using double of the same exact troop will give multiple Necromancy. So if you were to get like 4 Necromancy on a team, or just use something like double Valkyrie, it would give you a lot more souls, or at least quicker to the max souls per match that you can obtain. And in the future, when the game adds more ways to obtain souls, these troops will just become better and better to be able to get the souls you need to upgrade all of your troops. Next up is every single troop that has a link. What links do is they give bonus mana when linking, or when claiming gems on the board. For example, Acolyte gives extra brown whenever it does brown gems. Every single one of these links is +1 to it. So with like something like an Alchemist, if you were to get a Surge, he has 10 mana, so you could get 4 on one and then 3 on the other. If one of them surges, I will give you the full 10. So it's really good with links are really good with troops that have like a little bit off on mana, things that you'll need just to be able to get there slightly quicker. If you're going to be like 1 or 2 mana off, just put a couple links on that team and you'll be able to get focus on specific troops to get their ability up quickly, such as Alchemist, which creates a bunch of yellows for your team. And you essentially just use it for that. If the troop gets stunned, it will be disabled, which is one unfortunate part about that. But because whenever you have something on banner, you can never take those bonuses on banner, such as like +1 yellow and +1 red. These are giving more of these, but if you get stunned, it will disable these. But there's no way to stun banners, of course. And next up is the Spirit one of the same exact thing. Any troop can get this for a specific color. For example, we have Orcan statue here, who gains Stone Spirit, which is whenever you have additional brown troops on the team, you get +1 magic per troop that is on that team of that color. So you can use this to get a total of +4 magic on your troop if all of them were brown in this instance, or something like a Banshee. If all of them were yellow, you would get +4, and so on and so on. And it's really good just for giving a quick boost of magic right at the beginning. And one good thing about it is you can't actually stun it because it triggers right when the match begins. So even if it gets stunned, you'll still have all of the magic that you gained from it triggering on the first turn. Next up, we have Arcane. Arcane is really good for anything that's going to be casting a bunch, or teams that are going to be looping a lot between each other. What it does is it gives 1 magic every single time an ally casts. So it's going to give even more magic than that of any kind of spirit that you can get. But it's going to take a while to start up, since you need to cast a couple times before you actually get it. But then from there, it'll just keep going higher and higher and higher. And you can get ridiculously high amount of magic with any of these troops, especially if you get something looping with them, just to be able to cast over and over again, making them get higher and higher magic until you basically just one-shot the enemy. Next up, we have Huge. Kind of like big, except huge. Huge. Anyways, it gives +2 HP on 4 times or higher matches. Really good, again, with looping teams. So you're going to be looping over and over again. Whenever you get those extra turns, you're going to be getting life every single time. These troops can get extremely tanky. The only unfortunate part about the Huge trait is currently it's basically only on Legends. Legend, 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 Epic. I believe that's Epic, yeah. Legend. So you don't normally see it on lower troops. I don't know if they'll ever really put it on lower troops at all. But for the troops that it is on, you can really start to rack up a lot of HP for them. So the specific one, come on. The specific one I would say is my personal favorite with Huge. It has to be Aberrath, because he gets a full heal whenever he casts his ability as well. So he can really utilize that extra HP that he gets. Next up, we have Death Touch. Barely anything has this, but anything that does have it ever since the Death Touch, ever since the Death Mark buff on PC and mobile is very, very strong. The main two are Herald of Chaos and Wrath. What Death Mark does is just what it kind of sounds like it'll do. It just places Death Mark, or Death Touch, I mean. It places Death Mark whenever doing skull damage. And this is really strong since version 2.01 of the game, because they reduced the timer from Death Mark from a delay of 2 turns down to a delay of 0 turns. So from the very first turn, it has 10% chance to kill, as well as 10% chance to kill every turn afterwards until it eventually cleanses off. Because it has a 10% chance to cleanse the first turn, to 20, then 30, and just keeps going up by then. But every single time, it has a 10% chance to just straight out kill the enemy, which is very, very, very powerful. Obviously, an instant kill. Of course, Cleanse can counter it, Impervious can counter it, Wardening can counter it. Things that make it so it won't be able to apply it to an enemy, or can just cleanse it off quickly. But even if they do have a cleanse, there's a 10% chance that Death Mark will kill an enemy before they even have a chance to cleanse it off, which is very strong, having that kind of instant kill ability. And Herald of Chaos and Wrath can both do that. Next up is Stoneskin, the best trait other than Granite Skin for being able to negate skull damage. Stoneskin reduces any skull damage that you take on this troop by 50%, and that is essentially just having any physical damage you're going to be taking from skulls. So you're essentially twice as tanky when it comes to skull damage. This allows you to be able to leave skulls on the board more often, let the AI waste their turn on the skulls, and then you're barely damaged, and you can just keep accumulating your mana like nothing even happened. And a lot of troops that get Stoneskin, they can be really tanky, get some HP buffs on them, and they won't really die unless they get casted down or by some kind of status effect that can kill them easily. Stoneskin is definitely the best trait if you want tankiness on a troop. And next up is Empowered. Empowered is really good at winning matches quickly and efficiently, because every single troop that has Empowered can cast its ability from the very first turn. It starts battles with full mana, so regardless of how much mana it costs, it will be starting the match with all of it, which means you can just cast from the very first turn. If you put multiple Empowers on your team, each one of those can just cast, and you get a couple choices on what you want to cast. anything with it empowered is a great utility, because even if your team is blocking like a lot of mana that it may need, you can still use the ability as a utility, like Astral Spirit. You can remove all of any gem at will. Plus, you're going to be doing some true damage, but you can just choose a gem at any time you want, and it'll remove all of that type. Or you can go with something like Mana Core, and you get a full drain whenever you want. Plus, it even gains some attack and stuns them. It does a lot for only 9 mana with Empowered. But all of these are really great utilities. Every single one of them is worth getting, except Tall. Tall, I don't know what they're doing with Tall. Every single one other than Tall is worth getting here. And they're just... every single one has a different utility you can do, like Dust Devil, move them to the back. Etin if you want a bunch of attack. Faunessa if you need to counter something that has high attack. Gob Tromper if you find goblins to be annoying. Keg Hammer if you hate magic. Lamia if you have an attack problem similar to Faunessa. Mercy if you want yellow and a HP buff and cleanse. Scale Guard mostly just for damage, especially if you got poison on the team. Siren if you have things that will trigger on 4 times and 5 times matches, to be able to trigger those from the very first turn. Soothsayer if you want board control and extra magic. Spirit Fox is a mana drain plus anti-mercy with the removal of yellow, plus you get a little bit of true damage. Stargazer if you want an extra attack. And Tall, why do you exist? And lastly, I already showed it, so you guys can see here, Impervious. There we go. Impervious. They greatly reduced the amount of troops that have Impervious as of 2.01 in the game. I know console versions, you probably still have at least over a dozen troops that have Impervious, but that has been reduced because Impervious was buffed when version 2.01 of the game went live. The buff that it got is it's now Impervious. It's still immune to all status effects, like it always has been, but now it's also immune to Devour, and it's also immune to Mana Burn. And similarly, since it's immune to all status effects, it's also immune to the two new status effects of Web, which reduces a target's magic to 0 for its duration, as well as Stun, which disables all traits for its duration. And you can't even stun Impervious because Impervious stops stun. So anything with Impervious is just absolutely ridiculously strong. None of them are too tanky though. Fortress Gate and Carnex are surprisingly like the 2 tankiest 2 of them. But for the most part, they can get tankier, like Behemoth, he gets extra HP and stuff like that. So if you start looping, you can get him tankier. But what really makes them strong, of course, is the fact that there isn't a single status effect in the game that can touch them. They can't get devoured, they won't be getting that mana burn damage, and all of these negations that they have can really make them a all-around utility for countering pretty much everything. The only thing that they don't really counter is Skull Spam teams, which is a little bit of a problem because Skull Spam is pretty popular right now. But other than that, they counter everything else. Oh, and there's a knife one right here, War Sphinx, but War Sphinx isn't that good. But yeah, there's 9 troops with Impervious. Definitely consider getting things like Behemoth, maybe Carnex, Dragon Cruncher, Manticore, Plague if you happen to have them. And that's about it. The other ones you could get, they're not really that good though, for the most part. But if you really needed an Impervious, you could get one of these other ones. Dwarven Miner and Fortress Great are both common too, so it's only going to cost you 1 trait stone. If you like desperately wanted an Impervious for your front line to use, you could use like something like those. But anyways, that will wrap it up for this list. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Feel free to leave me your comments as well in the comment section below of what traits you think are really good. I did, of course, deliberately exclude unique traits on Legends, Mythics, and Hero classes because I'll be doing that this weekend in its own video. But anyways, that will do it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.